Have you ever wondered what happens when a true race car grows up, calms down just a little, and decides it actually wants to live on public roads? Have you ever thought, I love performance, but I also love my spine, my coffee, and not feeling exhausted just driving to breakfast? And let's be real, have you ever asked yourself if there's a version of the Porsche 911 GT3 that doesn't scream, track day only, every single mile you drive? If those questions sound familiar, then yeah, you clicked the right video, because today we're talking about the 2025 Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, and this thing is honestly kind of wild in the best possible way. Here's the thing, those three letters and that number, GT3, they actually mean something. This isn't marketing fluff or a badge slapped on for nostalgia. The GT3 RS has already proven it's basically a race car that somehow escaped onto public roads. Porsche even lined it up against an actual 911 Cup race car, and in more than a few corners, the street car held its own, despite being heavier and running street tires. That's not normal. That's Porsche being Porsche. Now take that same DNA, remove the giant wing, add a little sanity, and you get the GT3 Touring. Same soul, same attitude, just a bit more self-aware, like a guy who still lifts heavy but also stretches before getting out of bed. What's interesting is that the Touring isn't just the RS with parts taken away. In some ways, it's actually better. It's a touch heavier because it uses metal body panels instead of carbon fiber, but that trade-off brings a different kind of balance. It's quieter visually, more subtle, and honestly more mature. You don't feel like you need a helmet and a pit crew just to go grab groceries. And yet, once you start pushing it, this thing delivers numbers that are almost hard to believe. Let's talk about grip, because that's where the Touring really flexes. On the skid pad, it pulled an average of 1.21 G. That's the highest average lateral grip ever recorded in testing. Not just for a Porsche, for anything. And when hundredths of a G matter, that's a big deal. The next best cars are also GT3s, and none of them hit that number. That tells you something. Porsche didn't just detune this thing and call it a day. They engineered it to work everywhere. That grip translates directly into real-world performance. On the figure 8 test, which is basically a racetrack squeezed into a tiny space, the GT3 Touring tied the fastest time ever recorded, matching a McLaren 765 LT Spider. That's not a sentence you hear every day. It even beat the McLaren in average G through the course. Drivers came back with stiff necks, not because the seats were uncomfortable, but because the car was pulling so hard through corners. That's the kind of problem most of us wouldn't mind having. Braking, same story, 60 to 0 in just 86 feet. That ties the shortest stopping distance ever recorded. Again, not for a Porsche, for anything. And this is where experience kicks in. If you've been driving for decades, you know confidence doesn't just come from speed. It comes from knowing the car will stop when you need it to stop. This thing doesn't just stop, it basically digs its heels in and says, we're done here. Straight line speed isn't the Touring's main party trick, especially with a 6-speed manual. 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds isn't headline grabbing anymore, but it's still seriously quick, and only a bit slower than the dual-clutch versions. The quarter mile comes in at 11.5 seconds, and what really matters is the trap speed. 125 miles per hour tells you the power is there. The time difference is all about the launch, not the engine. And honestly, if you're buying this car, you're probably not worried about drag racing anyone at a stoplight anyway. Where the GT3 Touring really shines is on real roads, not perfect test tracks, not smooth circuits. Real, imperfect pavement. Porsche 911s have always been good at dealing with bumps mid-corner without losing their composure, and the Touring keeps that tradition alive. You pick a road, any road, and suddenly you're going faster than you ever have before without feeling like you're on the edge of disaster. That's the magic. The Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires play a big role here. They give you so much grip that you reach a point where you're not overthinking every corner anymore. You're just reacting. Your hands, feet, and brain are working together faster than you can consciously analyze. It's one of those rare driving experiences where everything clicks. And yeah, it can feel a little irresponsible, but in a controlled, I know exactly what this car can do kind of way. The brakes are there when you need them. The pedals are perfectly placed for heel-toe shifting, which, if you've been driving manuals for decades, feels like coming home. The shifter itself is tight and notchy, almost demanding respect. It's not something you casually flick through gears, you have to mean it. And when you get it right, it's deeply satisfying. Just don't use the cup holder, seriously. It blocks access to the shifter, which is Porsche's subtle way of saying, maybe finish your coffee before driving. Now here's something that might surprise you. This car doesn't fall apart when it rains. You'd expect those tires to turn it into a handful the moment the weather turns ugly, but that's not what happens. Driven calmly, like a normal car, it behaves predictably. Hydroplaning was basically a non-issue. Mud was more annoying than water, and even that was brief. The limiting factor wasn't grip, it was visibility. The wipers just couldn't keep up at higher speeds. There is one weird quirk, though. The vents on the nose, designed to help cool the radiators, can send water vapor back up onto the windshield in heavy rain. Enough steam coming off the radiators can actually fog the windshield from the outside. Add traffic splashing water everywhere, and yeah, it gets interesting. Still, the car handled some of the worst rain Southern California has seen in years and kept going without complaint. That says a lot. Of course, all this capability doesn't come cheap. The test car rang in at over $262,000. Even features meant to make life easier, like the GPS-enabled nose lift, come with trade-offs. Lift the front to clear a speed bump and the rear diffuser drops closer to the ground. Save the nose, scrape the tail. That's just part of the GT3 lifestyle. Consider it a gentle reminder that physics always collects its due. Inside, the lack of sound deadening means it's loud. Not race car loud, but louder than you might want when you're just cruising to a casual car meet. The suspension is stiff because it has to be to deliver those numbers. Daily driving is possible, but it's not plush. Then again, if comfort was the priority, you probably wouldn't be shopping in this aisle. And yet, Porsche really did try to make touring mean something here. This car proves that you can have record-setting performance without giving up usability entirely. It's a reminder that some discomfort is the price of excellence, and for the right person, that's a price worth paying. So let me ask you this. If you were in the market for a 911, would you take the subtle, wingless Touring, or would you still want the full, loud, track-focused look of the RS? Do you value the idea of driving something this capable on real roads, or is it still too much car for everyday life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear where you stand. And hey, if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive, real-world car talk, go ahead and tap that like button. It helps more than you think. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing that too, especially if you've got friends or family who love cars as much as you do. Share this with them. It's always more fun arguing about cars with people you know. At the end of the day, the 2025 Porsche 911 GT3 Touring feels like a car built for people who have been around long enough to know what really matters. It's fast, yes, it's capable beyond reason. But it's also thoughtful, usable, and just a little bit wiser. Kind of like us, honestly, just with better reflexes and a much higher redline.